Hello, Victoria. Jeremy here from Premier Pools and Spas. First and foremost, I wanted to say thank you for inviting me to your home to take a look at your property, look at your yard, and talk in so much detail about what your hopes are as far as building a pool, what that dream pool is going to look like, how you're going to use the pool. All of the information you shared with me was very, very helpful in coming up with this design. I did spend a little extra time on this design because I'm really trying to make that beach entry work for you. Of course, we had talked about the slope of a beach entry and making sure that that slope is comfortable. And so I've tried a few different things and wanted to come up with this first design here. I wanted to show you this first design just to let you know kind of what I've come up with. Not to say that this can't change. We can completely change the design however you want, but at least now we're going to be able to see how that pool is going to look in your backyard, decking, all the features of the pool, et cetera, et cetera. So I just wanted to go ahead and go through this. I'm going to walk you through the design now. So if you have any questions or any immediate changes you'd like to see before our meeting tomorrow, then please text me, call me, email me, however you'd like to talk. I'll be at my desk all afternoon. It's about actually 3:40 something right now. By the time you get this video, it'll probably be close to the end of the workday, but I will be available to talk. So if you want to talk tonight before our Zoom call, please let me know. I'll be happy to talk with you and make any changes, but otherwise we can make changes together during the call tomorrow. All right, well, let's take a look. Here we go. We're back looking at your fresh design. So as you can see, the GIS information that I found online isn't always as accurate as we wish it would be. And this is why we want to make be especially careful with property lines, fence lines, et cetera, et cetera. Based on the GIS information, this is where your property line is showing this blue line around. And then, of course, we have your fence, which is inside that blue line. The fence itself really isn't a factor with the pool building, the pool construction. But I just wanted to show you that there definitely is a slight difference or a big difference on the property line versus the fence line. But once again, GIS information isn't exactly the most accurate thing to look at. Now, I do have some landscaping in here. Not exactly the landscaping you have, but pretty much in the right spots. There's a few things that I left out just because we're trying to prioritize the pool construction portion. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of what this pool can be. Now, if we look at top down from your just from like a bird's eye view, what I've done is I've drawn in a ramp here. You were right. In order to do the 1/12 slope requirement for what they would call a handicap ramp, that does need to be a pretty long ramp, which means I had to double it back to bring it back in to the pool deck again. Otherwise we would have been running too far. So we didn't want it to come straight off the house because that's going to jut out into your yard. So what I did was I folded this ramp, and that is the proper slope right there. So, and I did put a metal railing on there. Like I said, I'll help you find somebody. If I have to, I'll make some calls to some decking companies. They can build that portion for you. And then also keep in mind any of the numbers that I throw at you as far as square footage of decking, that is going to be less the footprint of the ramp here. So it's not going to include decking underneath that ramp, which I wouldn't want you to pay for any decking underneath the ramp. It would be kind of silly to go ahead and put a concrete paver underneath that ramp and then you're just going to cover it up with the ramp. So what I've done is when we get to the pricing part, the pricing of the decking will not include anything that the ramp is sitting on, assuming that's the style of ramp that you want. But of course I can augment this any way you'd like. All right, so in order to do what I've done is I did a 4-foot wide entry and I pulled that entry out of the main body of the pool to give me a little bit more length. What I didn't want to do is stretch the entire pool that length because now you're going to spend more money on the pool itself, and we're really, really trying to keep you in a budget that's going to be, comfortable for you. So what we've done here is I've created a 4-foot wide entry area, and then of course that slope continues down into the pool. Now the slope is always my concern. I don't want you to have a slope that is too steep for you. but we can always revisit this as needed. You may want to look at some geometric formats as well, like more of a rectangular formats to make this work, but I'll do whatever we need to do. You know, this first go at it, really, I think of it as a kind of like a starting point. Let's go ahead and get a design you like, and if you want to price that out, then at least that will give you some context as far as how much the project is going to cost, and then we can kind of change it from there. So, but you know, once again, you're the boss. This is going to be your pool, and I'll do whatever you need to do to get to a comfortable point for you. Now, so we have a freeform pool. This pool is going to be, hold on, I'm going to pull up the information on the specifics of the pool itself. And but what you have is a freeform pool. Well, let's talk about the why behind, first of all, the travertine that is running into the pool from this beach entry. Now, the thing is you have to do a stone surface on the entry, because you can't have any plaster or pebble interior product exposed to the sun and the air without water, right? So because this whole ramp would be coming out of the water, we need to make sure that we run a solid stone cover. In this case, I put travertine, but it could be shell stone, it could be marble, it could be whatever you want. But it does have to be something that can be exposed to the sunlight. The good thing is these stone treatments that we do have a high slip coefficient, so you'll be comfortable walking in without the worry of slipping. Then once you get fully into the water, obviously the pebble or plaster, whichever direction you want to go, will start from underneath the water, and then that pebble will be, of course, throughout the entire interior of the pool. Now, what we did talk a little bit about the depth of the pool, and you had mentioned we were trying to figure out 5 feet, 5.5, what would be great for you, because you need to be able to tread water during portions of your workout that you want to do in the pool. Well, just to let you know that whenever a gunite pool is built, the depth, if we say 5 feet in a gunite pool, that is actually 5 feet of depth in water depth, right? So 5 feet is 5 feet. It's not, 4.9, it's not 4.5. It doesn't account for this gap, this 3-inch gap right here. Oops, let's, I don't know how that got over there. Let's delete that. But it's not going to have, it doesn't account for that gap right there. So when we say 5 feet, we dig it to the point and we build it so you have a full 5 feet of depth. That being said, I've done a couple measurements, and if you're like 5, I think you said you're like 5'4" or something, basically 5 feet of depth would give you enough space to comfortably tread water. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're treading water, your entire head is above the water. Well, that's about 6 or 7 inches of height right there alone. And then when you tread water, you're not going to have straight legs when you're pumping your legs to tread water. Your legs are going to be bent. You're not going to straighten them out all the way. And that would, so even if you did straighten out your legs, though, you would probably barely, if at all, touch the floor. The reason that I'm trying to get a shallower deep end than 5.5 is, once again, it's that slope. If I do 5.5 feet, that slope starts to get a lot more steep. If I do 5 feet, the slope is a little bit more comfortable. If we get under the ground here, you can kind of see that slope. But even, that slope from 3.5 or from a beach entry, you can see that slope gets a little steep as well. So this is the challenge with beach entry pools, is that you have to be able to build them so that slope is comfortable. Now, another alternative would be to get this slope of the entry all the way to where you're, about above your knees in the water, or maybe even waist deep, and then have a step down, so that, because now that you're in the water, the buoyancy is going to help you, and it's easy to go ahead and step into the pool or step up, because you're not going to be fully weighted, so to speak. So it takes a lot of weight and pressure off of your knees and your ankles and stuff. So, but we can go ahead and explore that in more detail. What I've done here is I have wrapped this bench. Now, this bench is only 9 inches down from the coping. This is the height that we would put a tanning deck. It's only 3 inches under the water. Now, the reason I put this bench at 3 inches under the water versus this bench, which is 15 inches under the water and 18 inches under the coping, The reason I put this a little bit higher is because it can serve as a space for you to hold on to as you're getting into the pool and getting into the deep end. So instead of having like some type of metal rail or something to hold on to, I can give you something in the pool to go ahead, to go ahead and be able to put your hand on while you're traveling down that slope. So it's more of a safety issue than anything else. But once again, it doesn't have to be there. It could be whatever you want it to be. As promised, I kind of used the shape of this pool to hug around the corner of your existing patio. Your existing patio is going to be that highlighted area right there. Of course, I drew an overlay on top of it. So this is a concrete paver. A Napoli Belgard concrete paver is what I have shown here. This is your most affordable concrete paver option. There's a few different colors available to you. But then you can also go with like a stone paver option, which would be like your travertine, shell stone, coral stone, marble. There's a lot of really great products out there. And I'd be happy to share with you any of that. Now on the back end here, you see that we do, as we already know, your property slopes away from the house. It slopes down. So at about the back end of the pool, you're going to have a foot to 18 inches. Let's see, from here up to here, that's just over a foot. So at the top edge, yes, 18 inches. We're going to call it 18 inches of an exposed edge on the back side of the pool. So basically, you had mentioned wanting just to keep that exposed edge exposed. That's great. We can do that. Or what we could do is take the dirt that we've pulled out of the ground, and then we can push it up against the back side of the pool and then grade accordingly. We can kind of grade that grass away from the pool. And but that's completely up to you. So if we do an exposed edge here, we do have to treat the outside edge of the pool, or the outside exposed edge of the pool, with either stucco, or you could do, some type of stone treatment. The most affordable way to do it is to stucco it. I have like an off-white stucco right here, but it can be any color you want. So of course an exposed beam, because we do have to treat the outside of that beam, that's going to come with a little bit more of a cost associated with it. Not much, but a little bit. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Now, the other issue here is if on the decking portion, right here, you see this exposed area of the side of that wall, that would be considered a small retention wall. Now, the problem with keeping all of this exposed instead of pushing dirt up against it and then grading the dirt gently away from the pool is the fact that we now have to build a wall to hold the dirt in so that we can put decking on top, right? So this has to be a short retention wall right here. My preference would be to bring the dirt up. So let's see what my elevation is here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we have a 2-inch elevation at the deck level. So if I go to terrain mode, and then I adjust the elevation. Bear with me as I hit a few buttons here. You'll understand what I'm doing here in just a second. And then I can pull all of that up all the way around. Okay. There we go. And then we could gently just grade the dirt. So we're going to smooth all this out, make this tool a little bit bigger. We're going to smooth all that out a bit so that it doesn't have a big slope. Right? So this is what I'm thinking is the more affordable solution, because anytime you have an exposed edge or a retention wall scenario, it's going to cost you quite a bit more money. The walls aren't cheap to build. We could shoot the wall in gunite, which is going to be about half the cost of doing it with block, but still it's an expense that you're probably not going to want to incur. And you can see, even if right here, even if we grade that away, you'll have a gentle slope. It won't be too hard to mow. I've got a slope like this in my backyard. I don't have too much trouble with it. But once again, this is your yard. This is your project. It's completely up to you. You let me know what you want to do with it. All right. So now I'm going to use this as a pointer tool. There we go. All right, so you see that little circle. So I have a little bit of furniture out here. I have a handrail in here. I put some landscaping in. This is all landscaping that I know works in our region. So all this stuff will grow. If you get to that point, when we get to that point, I'd be happy, I'd be thrilled to design your landscaping for you. Of course, that's something that'll actually save you some money if you wanted to have a landscaper come in and do some stuff. Typically, they charge for designs, but if you take my design and I'll draw it up for you, that might save you some money with the landscaper because they don't have to design it for you. All right, so let's look at the specs of the pool itself. We're looking at an envelope of, and this is going to be a rectangular area around the pool. Your envelope is going to be 29 feet 3, we'll call it 29 feet 3 inches by 17 feet 5 inches is what we'll call it. Then you have an area of 309, almost 310 square feet. That's the surface area of the water. Our volume of this pool as it stands is 5,369 gallons. And then our perimeter measurement is just over 80 feet. So it's 80 feet, almost 80 feet, 3 inches. So these are the measurements that we use. Of course, the depth, what we have, the depth right now is going to be really 0 on this end, and it goes down to 5 at this point in the deep end. If you want to make it deeper, that's fine. We can do that. We really just have to have a good conversation about the slope itself because we don't want you to struggle with the slope. And I know the slope can't be, the rise over run can't be 3 to 1, over 3 to 1. So we want to make sure that, we build this in code. All right. So with that said, I would love to hear your thoughts. I look forward to our call tomorrow. If you look at this at night, you're going to see that we have 2 lights in the pool. They might not be positioned in exactly where I put them, but we position them to get the most illumination, right? So you can see that pool glows very beautifully. You still have room on the deck here to be to have some furniture, easily move around. Even if you use your motorized cart, you can get around this area pretty easily. And then we're leaving the decking off the back end because you're not going to be walking back here. And it looks pretty good to have that the beam of the pool right up against the grass. I think it looks pretty, but of course that's all subjective. It's not what I think looks pretty doesn't matter. It's really what you want, and I'll be happy to design it anyway. So let me know your thoughts. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on that Zoom call. I'll send you you'll have a link in the email that I'm sending you for that Zoom call, and I'm happy to make any changes that you need to see. All right. Hope you're doing well. Talk to you very soon. Bye.